I've had the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge for quite a while now. I want to say at least a year. And I've literally just opened my first beauty blender. I finally got my hands on one of these. I've wanted to try one for ages, but I've been skeptical whether it's worth it for the price when I do like this one. So I'm gonna apply them both on camera today, you'll see, and just give my first impressions and how I think they compare, because I feel like this is very much debated. A lot of people think this is just as good, and a lot of people think that the original beauty blender, you absolutely have to get it and there's nothing like it. So the first thing I noticed is the beauty blender is much softer and bouncier feeling, and the Real Techniques sponge is slightly more dense and slightly drier, and you can kind of tell when they soak up the water. Because this one is more dense, it does soak up more water and it does get a little bit bigger. So I didn't really think anything of it until I actually started applying the product. And the reason that I have not been a huge convert to the whole sponge thing in the past is because I feel like A, it takes a long time compared to brushes, and B, it does kind of take away product as it blends, and a lot of people like that, but I always feel like I have to use way more product to get the coverage that I want, which is usually like a medium coverage, maybe medium to full if I'm going out. And I always felt like I had to build up loads of product with this one. And I did notice that I had to use less product with this side, and it also just covered. It didn't kind of take away the product as it was blending, but I still got that same kind of natural, really kind of melting into the skin finish that this one gives too. Because it is bouncier and kind of squishier, you can really like quickly bounce it over the face, whereas this is a little bit more cumbersome, I think, to use. I'm gonna have a look at the footage as well when I edit this video, but looking in the mirror now, I do feel like this noticeably is lighter coverage on this side of my face with the Real Techniques sponge, and this one does look that does have that tiny bit more coverage. On this side I can see like bits of my real skin like really peeking through, whereas this side just looks a little bit smoother and the coverage is a bit more even all the way. And I really think that might be down to how much water they hold, because this one feels really wet when I'm first using it. A lot of people say, honestly, you want it really wet, just make sure there's loads and loads of water and it's really saturated, and then wring it out and then use it. And I always thought that didn't give me a great finish, whereas I did exactly the same thing. I was putting them under opposite taps, so I wasn't like putting more water in this one or anything. You can noticeably feel that this one wrings out the water more, because this does feel damp, whereas this almost like wets my fingers when I'm holding it. So I really think that that is a big part of why this one performs a bit better. I don't think that's a reason not to get this one though, because it still does work quite well. My issue with sponges in general is if you're going to apply them for your whole face of makeup, you are going to take a bit longer than you would with a brush. So it depends. If you like really love the finish versus a brush, then it's worth it for you. But I think in future I will be using these as like a finisher. You guys know I always apply foundation with a flat brush, and then I go in with a big kabuki brush or like the Real Techniques buffing brush, and that is just to make sure that everything is really well blended. And I think this serves the purpose of that really well, especially if you really don't like to look like you're wearing a lot of makeup. This really does help the makeup like seamlessly blend into the skin. Now, when I came to apply my concealer with it, this is where I definitely prefer the Beauty Blender Original, and I know a lot of people have mentioned this. The shapes are so different that this one is just perfectly built for going underneath the eyes because it's so pointy at the end. This one has a much softer point, so this one really doesn't get right in the corner as much as this one does, and you can kind of pinch it because it's so great to hold, you can really pinch it together and really push it in there. Now, bearing in mind, I had already done my eyeshadow, so I already had eyeshadow underneath my eye, and I didn't want to like get too close and mess it up, and this did a really great job of literally going right on the edge of it and not ruining it, but it's still blended in my concealer. Whereas with this, I know this flat side is, a lot of people say they use this side for concealer, and I do like this for concealer because you can get right up underneath. However, I do think that this blended in the concealer way more, and I didn't have to do anything with the concealer after using the Beauty Blender, whereas on this side I had to grab my Real Techniques brush, you'll see, and just make sure it was blended like here, because you just can't really reach right in the corner with this. If you intend to use the sponge for concealing, highlighting, contouring and everything like that, you're going to get a much more precise blend and application with the Beauty Blender. So those are my first impressions, and I can definitely see why people prefer the Beauty Blender, because instantly I can see that it is just that little bit better at blending than the Real Techniques. Although I wouldn't say that the Real Techniques is bad, I still really like it. The main thing that I really noticed is the water retention thing. So I can't give my final verdict on this because this is literally the first day that I've used this. So I will definitely update you guys, and if I enjoy the Beauty Blender, it will definitely be in my next monthly favourites, and I will give you an update on whether I feel like it's worth the extra money or whether you can stick with the dupe if you're on a budget. But so far I definitely do still like the Real Techniques. It does the job, and don't be thinking that you absolutely have to buy this, because you will get a similar result with the Real Techniques one. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope this mini review on first impressions was helpful for you. Please give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments any other products you want me to review, or if you enjoy these types of first impressions videos and you want me to do more in the future, because I will be more than happy to do them for you. I will see you in my next video. Bye!